Most businesses already know who their competitors are. They've looked at their websites, they've read their reviews, they've noticed when a job goes to someone else. The observations exist. The problem is, those observations live in browser tabs, in notebook margins, in half remembered conversations, and they never become anything you can actually use. Today, we're going to fix that. AI takes raw competitor research and turns it into a structured, actionable competitive analysis in under 5 minutes. Let's get to it. Here's the pattern that plays out in almost every small business that tries to do this manually. The research phase eats everything. You spend hours pulling up competitor websites, reading through Google reviews, poking around social profiles, trying to figure out what they charge. And by the time you've collected enough to feel like you actually know something, you're out of energy to do anything with it. The analysis never happens. The doc sits in a folder. Nothing changes. The problem isn't that the research is hard to find. The problem is that raw research and actionable insight are two completely different things. And the gap between them is where this process falls apart. Walk through what traditional approach looks like. You pull up 5 competitor websites. You open their Google profiles. You read through a few dozen reviews and try to notice patterns. You jot notes in a doc that has no real structure because you're not sure what structure to use yet. By the end, you've got something that looks like research but doesn't answer the question you actually needed answered. Where do I have an opening? The doc has no consistent format. The best observations are buried 3 paragraphs in. And if things get busy, which they always do, this is the first thing that gets dropped. 4 to 6 hours of effort producing something that rarely gets used is a rough trade. Competitive analysis is pattern work. You're taking a collection of observations and finding the structure underneath them. Who positions where, what's missing, where complaints cluster. That is exactly the kind of task AI handles well. Feed it raw, unorganized research and it returns organized output. This connects directly to what's covered in making AI make sense. AI completes patterns. That's not a limitation, it's the mechanism. And for a task like this, that mechanism is genuinely useful. The business we're using as the example today is Green Valley Landscaping, a residential landscaping company with 5 local competitors and 0 time for a multi-day research project. The owner is running crews, returning calls, and managing jobs. A structured competitive analysis sounds valuable, but it also sounds like something that requires a consultant or a slow week that never comes up. Before we go further, if you're watching this and run a dental practice, an insurance agency, a gym, or a marketing firm, everything you're about to see applies directly to your business. The landscaping context is just the example. The workflow is universal. What AI actually needs to do this is surprisingly minimal. 4 categories of information: competitor name and basic context, who they are, how long they've been around, what market they serve, services and pricing, what they offer, how they package it, what you can observe about what they charge, review themes, the patterns in what customers praise and what they complain about, and your own business context, your strengths, your gaps, and what you're trying to accomplish in the market. That's it. You're not building a spreadsheet. You're not formatting anything. You collect the observations, and the analysis is AI's job. This is what the input looks like for Green Valley. It's messy. It's unformatted. There are half sentences, pricing guesses, impressions from Nextdoor, observations about Instagram presence. It reads exactly like every competitive research doc that's ever been written, because this is what it actually looks like when a business owner collects the information on their own. And here's the important thing. It doesn't need to be clean. It doesn't need to be structured. It just needs to exist. That's the threshold. Get the observations out of your head and into a document. AI handles everything after that. Here's what the prompt looks like. You're giving AI 4 explicit output tasks: a competitor positioning summary for each player, a gap analysis, a list of differentiation opportunities, and draft messaging angles. Each section is labeled. The output format is defined before AI touches the input. And at the bottom, there's one instruction that matters more than any other. Base all analysis on the research provided, not general assumptions about the industry. That line is doing real work. Without it, AI will give you generic landscaping industry insights. With it, it gives you analysis grounded in what you actually found about your actual competitors. Specificity in the prompt is what separates a useful output from a generic one. The first output section is a clean positioning summary for each competitor. Apex Lawn Care comes out as an established local authority, strong review volume, brand recognition, but reliability complaints. That suggests the reputation is running ahead of their execution. Turf Pro lands as the budget option. High next door visibility, fast response, but consistent quality complaints that likely mean high churn. Greenscapes reads as a modern visual brand targeting younger homeowners. Good social presence, pricing that's hard to pin down, limited review depth. What took hours of tab switching is now a structured, consistent snapshot of every competitor in the market. Same analytical lens applied to each one. That consistency is something manual research almost never achieves. This is the section that gets skipped in manual research almost every time. Not because it isn't valuable, but because by the time you've collected the raw observations, you don't have the energy to synthesize them. AI runs this automatically from the same input. No competitor emphasizes communication or follow through. That's a messaging gap. Everyone leads with price or aesthetics. Nobody leads with trust. Another messaging gap. There's a clear divide between budget and premium options with no strong mid market voice. That's a price positioning gap. Reliability and follow up are the most common complaints across multiple competitors. That's a review gap. That signals an unmet expectation in the market. Each one of these is an opening, and they all came out of the same messy notes from slide 7. AI takes the gap analysis one step further and names 3 specific positions Green Valley could own. Response time. Competitors are losing customers to slow follow up, and owning the we actually call you back position is both defensible and verifiable. Communication quality. Review data across multiple competitors shows customers feeling kept in the dark, and proactive updates create a differentiator that takes time for competitors to replicate. Residential specialization. Lawn King has drifted towards commercial, Turf Pro is chasing volume, and there's a real opening to become the clear choice for residential homeowners who want quality and consistency. These aren't suggestions pulled from landscaping industry playbook. They came from the specific research Green Valley provided. That's what makes them usable. From the same prompt, same session, AI drafts positioning language. Green Valley Landscaping delivers reliable residential lawn care with the communication and follow through that bigger crews can't match. We're not the cheapest option in town, and that's the point. These aren't finished website copy, they're starting points. But the hard work, identifying the angle, finding the language that connects the differentiation opportunity to something a customer actually cares about, is already done. Your job is to shape it into your voice and verify that it reflects how you actually want to show up. That's a 15-minute task, not a 2-hour one. One prompt, 4 output sections: competitor positioning summaries, gap analysis, differentiation opportunities, and messaging angles. Under 5 minutes. And the quality is consistent regardless of how many competitors you're analyzing or how messy your starting notes were. That consistency is actually one of the less obvious benefits here. Manual research quality varies based on how much time you had, how tired you were, or whether it was at 7 a.m. or 9 p.m. AI output quality is determined by the research you provide and the structure of your prompt, not your energy level on a given Tuesday. AI does the heavy lifting of organization. The judgment calls are still yours. Client relationships. AI doesn't know that a competitor's customer just called you frustrated and is ready to switch. That context changes how you prioritize. Pricing observations. What you pulled from reviews and websites are impressions, not confirm numbers. Validate before acting on price comparisons. Messaging angles. AI drafts options. You decide which one feels true to how you want to show up. Strategic priorities. Which gap to go after first is a business decision. AI surfaces the options. You make the call. After the initial output, one follow-up prompt takes it from analysis to action plan. You're asking AI to identify the top two highest impact, lowest effort opportunities, suggest a specific 30-day action for each, and flag any assumptions that need to be verified before acting. The follow-up builds on the same session. You don't repaste your research. The context is already there. This is where the output stops being a document you read and starts being something you can hand to someone with a clear instruction. The whole process, start to finish, is under 30 minutes. The landscaping scenario made this concrete, but every output section you just saw, competitor positioning, gap analysis, differentiation opportunities, messaging angles, applies identically to a restaurant analyzing neighborhood competition, a gym evaluating membership pricing gaps, a dental practice looking at patient communication patterns, a marketing agency identifying where its capability set is genuinely different from the three firms it keeps losing pitches to. The prompt structure doesn't change. You swapped in your competitors and your business context. The workflow handles the rest. Markets shift. Competitors adjust their pricing. New players show up. Someone who used to be in direct competition starts going after your customers directly. This isn't a one-time project. It's a quarterly habit. Before you update your website, before you change your pricing, when you notice you're losing jobs to a specific competitor and you're not sure why. The 30-minute time investment makes a quarterly refresh realistic in a way that a 4 to 6 hour manual process never was. The time breakdown. 60 to 90 minutes to gather your research. That part is still yours. Under 5 minutes for AI to structure, analyze, and draft. 15 to 20 minutes for you to review, verify, and refine. Total time under 2 hours compared to a full day of manual work that produces a less consistent, less actionable output. Run this quarterly and you reclaim a full day of work every year with better strategic clarity each time. Every business owner who's ever looked up a competitor has done the research. The observations exist. What's been missing is a fast, reliable way to turn those observations into something structured enough to act on. That's the gap AI closes here. Start with the notes you already have. Run the prompt. See what comes back. The first output will be more organized, more actionable, and more consistent than anything produced manually. And it'll take less than 5 minutes to generate. The research was never the bottleneck. Now the analysis isn't either. This is part of our Making AI Work series. Real workflows, real prompts, real time savings for business owners who don't have hours to spend figuring this out. If you need this at scale for your team, multiple markets, ongoing competitive monitoring, custom workflow builds, let's talk. You can find us over at eauclairai.com. Subscribe for new workflows every week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.